Before everything went wrong, my life at the agency was small, quiet, and mostly invisible. I was the guy people nodded at but did not really see. 26 years old, hired as a junior assistant, which mostly meant I ran on caffeine and apologies. Every morning started the same way. Coffee orders balanced in both hands, garment bags slung over my shoulder, my phone buzzing with reminders I was already late to. I learned early that the best way to survive was to stay out of the way and move fast. The agency itself felt like another world. Bright white rooms, mirrors everywhere. People who looked like they belonged on magazine covers even when they were just standing still. Models walked past me in heels worth more than my rent, talking about castings and fittings like it was nothing. I admired them from a distance, not in a jealous way, more like someone watching a movie they could never step into. I told myself I was fine where I was. Behind the scenes, useful but unnoticed. Most days I handled clothes more expensive than anything I owned. I zipped garment bags carefully, held doors open, carried boxes from room to room. I knew which racks not to touch, and which designers made the stylists nervous. I could tell who was important just by how people straightened their posture when she walked by, the owner, especially Maya. When she entered a room, conversations shifted, and mistakes suddenly mattered more. I stayed extra careful on days she was around. There was a lot of talk that week about the upcoming runway show. Everyone seemed tense but excited, whispering about the new androgynous chic line. I heard phrases like sharp tailoring, soft power, blurred lines. It sounded interesting but distant, like something meant for people braver and more confident than me. I listened while stacking boxes and refilling coffees, pretending I was not curious. That line was for the models, for people who belonged under lights. At the end of each day, I went home tired but unchanged. Same body, same name, same quiet relief that I had survived another shift without messing up. I did not crave attention. I did not imagine myself stepping into their world. I just wanted to keep my job and pay my bills. Looking back now, that ordinary routine feels almost precious, because the morning everything changed started exactly the same. And that is what still scares me the most. The mistake did not come from carelessness. It came from trying to do too much at once. That is the part that still haunts me. I was rushing between rooms with a tray of coffees balanced against my chest and a garment bag hooked over my arm. Someone called my name from behind. Another door opened faster than I expected. I turned without thinking. The sound came first. Cups tipping, liquid sloshing, then silence. I looked down, and my stomach dropped. Coffee was spreading across pale fabric, like a bruise blooming in slow motion. The dress hung there helplessly on the rack, delicate and perfect seconds ago, now stained in a way that felt violent. One of the stylists gasped so sharply it made my ears ring. I remember whispering, "No, no, no," under my breath, like that might reverse time. They pulled the dress away from me immediately, hands moving fast, voices suddenly tight and sharp. Someone asked who did this. Someone else already knew. I stood frozen with empty cups dripping onto the floor, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it was shaking my ribs. When I finally heard the number, it did not sound real. A $20,000 custom piece. No replacement, no margin for error this close to the show. I was called into Maya's office within minutes. No yelling, no drama, just that quiet, controlled disappointment that somehow felt worse. She sat across from me, hands folded, eyes steady, and explained the situation like she was reading a report. The dress was ruined. The cost was mine to carry. I tried to speak, but my throat locked up. My mind raced through every option and found none. I did not have savings. I did not have family money. I barely had a safety net. As she talked, the room felt smaller, the walls closer. My normal life cracked open right there in that chair. The routine I depended on suddenly felt fragile, like it had only existed because nothing had gone wrong before. I nodded when she asked if I understood, even though I did not understand how my life could change so completely in a single spilled moment. When I left her office, the hallway looked the same as always. Models walking, music playing softly, makeup brushes tapping glass. But I felt separate from it all, like I was already falling out of the world I knew. That was when the panic really set in. Not loud panic, quiet panic. The kind that sinks into your chest and whispers that nothing will ever be normal again. I was still trying to calm my breathing when everything got worse. I was standing near the styling area pretending to organize hangers when voices rose near the front desk. Sharp words, phones coming out. Someone saying the words walked out, like they could not believe them. I watched as one of the senior stylists rushed past me, face tight, heels clicking faster than usual. A lead model had quit hours before the show. Not sick, not delayed, gone. I heard fragments as they passed. Contract issue. Creative disagreement. No time to replace her properly. My stomach twisted again, but this time it was not about the dress. It was the feeling that chaos was spreading and somehow I was already tangled in it. Maya called me back into her office. She did not look angry. She looked focused. That scared me more. She explained the problem like she was laying out chess pieces. One model gone. One line built around balance and blurred presentation. No margin for reshoots. No backup prepared in time. Then she leaned back slightly and looked at me in a way that made my skin prickle. "You owe the agency $20,000, she said calmly. "And I am missing a body for the androgynous chic line. You will work off your debt by helping us finish the show." I waited for the rest of the sentence, for the part where I carried equipment or ran errands all night. But she did not add anything. She just kept looking at me. I laughed once, short and nervous, because my brain could not process what she was implying.
"Me on the runway."
I shook my head immediately, words spilling out. "I am not a model.
"I do not look like them."
I cannot do that." My voice sounded thin, even to my own ears. She did not interrupt. She waited until I ran out of excuses. When she finally spoke again, her tone was firm, but not cruel. "You have the height. The measurements can be adjusted. The line is designed for flexibility. This is not a punishment. This is a solution. You can refuse. But then the debt stands, and I will have to handle it another way." She let that hang in the air between us. I felt heat rise into my face. Shame, fear, disbelief all at once. Every part of me wanted to run, to disappear, to say no and accept whatever came next. But my legs did not move. My mouth stayed closed. I thought about my rent, my job, the number she had said so easily. I nodded before I fully realized I was doing it. The moment my head moved, something inside me dropped. Not relief, not acceptance, just the understanding that there was no way back to the life I had been living. Maya pressed a button on her desk and spoke one sentence that sealed it. "Prep him for the androgynous line. We are on a deadline." They did not ask how I felt when I was led into the prep room. That was the first thing I noticed. No questions, no hesitation, just movement and instructions. The door closed behind me, and suddenly I was surrounded by women who worked with bodies for a living. A stylist, a makeup artist, a hairdresser, a wardrobe mistress. Each one glanced at me the way a mechanic looks at an engine. Focused, neutral, already deciding what needed to be fixed. Stand straight, arms out, chin up. Hands were on me, before my brain caught up. Fingers pressing into my sides, measuring tape sliding around my chest and waist. One of them spoke while writing notes on a tablet. "Shoulders are fine. Hips too narrow. Waist needs structure. Legs workable. Skin is rough. We will need full prep." None of it sounded cruel. That almost made it worse.
They were not judging me.
They were inventorying me. I was told to undress. This time there was no gentle handling, just a nod toward a bench and a clear expectation that I move faster. Standing there in my underwear under those lights felt different. Less embarrassment, more exposure, like my body had stopped belonging to me the moment I agreed to this. The wardrobe mistress handed my clothes off to someone without looking at me and guided me toward a tiled room that smelled clean and sharp. The shaving started first. Warm gel spread over my chest, my arms, my legs. A razor gliding slowly while another woman held my skin taut. Hair disappeared in long, quiet strokes. I watched it collect on a towel and felt my skin react, sensitive and new. No one commented on it. They talked about timing and lighting and fabric choices while they worked over me. That was when the humiliation settled in. Not loud, just heavy. Waxing came next for the places they said had to be perfect. I was told to lie back and breathe. For hands kept me steady while another worked quickly and decisively. Each pull was sharp and shocking, my muscles tensing before I could stop them. Someone reminded me calmly to relax, that this was normal, that models went through worse. I nodded even though my eyes burned, and my jaw was tight. By the time they finished, my body felt unfamiliar. Smooth in places that had never been touched like that before. Exposed, cleaned down to something raw. As they wiped me down and inspected their work, I caught my reflection in a mirrored panel. My skin looked lighter, softer, less like the person who had walked into work that morning. I should have been overwhelmed with shame.
Part of me was.
But underneath it, quieter and harder to admit, was something else.
Curiosity.
A strange awareness of every inch of myself, of what was being taken away and what might replace it. I looked away from the mirror quickly when I realized my breathing had changed. I reminded myself this was just a job, just a debt. But even then, standing there smooth and silent while they moved on to the next step, I knew I had crossed into something I did not know how to undo. Once my skin was bare and sensitive, they did not give me time to think about it. The wardrobe mistress stepped in with firm hands and quiet authority that made it clear this was her domain. She wrapped a tight layer around my midsection first, pulling it snug until my breath caught, then tighter. The corset did not hurt at first, but it demanded attention. My posture changed without permission. My waist pulled inward while my ribs protested. She told me to breathe slowly and adjust. This was how it was supposed to feel. Padding came next. Soft shapes placed at my hips and rear, adjusted, removed, then placed again until the silhouette pleased them. Tape followed, carefully used to smooth lines and hide anything that broke the illusion. I did not watch. I stared at the ceiling and focused on staying still. When they finally stepped back, one of them nodded and said the word balance like it was a compliment. I looked down and barely recognized the shape I was standing in. My body felt edited. They did not let me sit the way I wanted. Knees together, back straight, weight placed carefully. A stylist corrected the way I shifted my hips when I stood. Too stiff, too heavy. They showed me how to soften it, how to let movement flow without swinging. It felt awkward and deliberate, like learning a language with my muscles instead of my mouth. Every correction landed quietly but firmly. Again, slower. Do not fight it. Then came the heels. 6 inches, narrow, elegant. They slid them onto my feet like it was nothing. The first step nearly sent me forward. Hands caught my arms before I could fall. No panic, one of them said. Your body will learn. And it did, slowly, painfully. Hours passed with me walking back and forth across the floor, calves burning, arches screaming, sweat forming at my lower back beneath the corset. Every time I broke the glide, I was stopped and reset. By the end, my legs shook, but my steps were smoother, automatic. Somewhere in the middle of all this, a woman from the media team joined us. She asked me to repeat simple phrases, my name, short sentences. She listened closely, adjusting my tone, my pitch, the way I ended words. Softer, less weight, let the sound float forward. I felt ridiculous at first, my voice cracking with nerves. But after enough repetition, it settled into something calmer, different. Finally, Maya returned and watched me walk once from one end of the room to the other. She studied me like a finished draft. Then she said the name I would use on the runway. Bella. It sounded strange in my mouth when I repeated it. Too intimate. Too close. But no one corrected me. No one laughed. They just wrote it down and moved on. By then, my old body felt distant, covered, controlled, replaced piece by piece with something deliberate. Standing there, taped, corseted, balanced on heels, responding to a new name, I realized they were not just dressing me. They were building me. And whether I was ready or not, my body was learning how to belong to it. By the time they sat me in the makeup chair, my body already felt unfamiliar. The corset held me upright. The padding changed how I balanced. The heels kept my attention locked on every movement. The makeup artist tilted my chin gently and told me to close my eyes. Her voice was calm, professional, almost soothing. She started with my skin, blending foundation carefully, evening out tones I had never paid attention to before. Brushes moved across my face in precise strokes, light but deliberate. Contour came next, shadows placed where structure was needed, light where softness mattered. I could feel my face changing under her hands. Not painfully, just intentionally. Someone adjusted the lights around the chair to check how my features reacted. My lips were lined and filled, darker than I would have chosen, but right for the runway. Lashes followed, heavier than I expected, making my eyes feel larger, more alert. Every step stripped away something familiar and replaced it with control. The hairdresser stepped in once the makeup was set. She placed a wig cap over my head, smoothing everything flat, then carefully lowered the wig into place. It was heavier than I imagined, long-styled. When she adjusted it and let it fall naturally around my shoulders, I felt the brush of hair against my neck and collarbones. She worked quietly, shaping it to frame my face, checking angles from every side. The wardrobe fitting came last. The androgynous, chic outfit was nothing like the dresses I had seen ruined. It was sharp and soft at the same time, tailored lines, fluid fabric. When they dressed me, it settled over my altered body like it had been waiting for me. Adjustments were made in silence. A tug here, a pin there. Someone stepped back and nodded once. Then they turned the chair toward the mirror. I looked up and my breath caught. The person staring back at me was not the assistant who spilled coffee that morning. The face was composed, the eyes steady, the shape elegant in a way I had never associated with myself. I searched for something familiar and struggled to find it. My jaw felt tight. My heart raced. But I did not look away. Something shifted in that moment. The panic I had been carrying all day softened into focus. Not confidence exactly, more like clarity. This was happening whether I fought it or not. My job now was to do it well. I straightened slightly, without being told. Adjusted my posture, met my own gaze, and held it. For the first time since everything started, my hands stopped shaking. I was still afraid, but underneath it was a calm I did not expect, a quiet understanding that the person in the mirror had a role to play, and that for the next few hours, I had to become her completely. Backstage was louder than I expected. Music pulsing through the walls, voices counting down, stylists making last-minute adjustments with quick hands and focused eyes. I stood in line with the other models, my heart beating so fast it felt like it might give me away. Someone adjusted my shoulders and whispered, "Posture." Someone else checked my shoes. No one questioned why I was there. That almost made it harder to breathe. When it was my turn, the curtain shifted and the lights hit me all at once. Bright, blinding. For a split second, everything inside me screamed to stop. I imagined laughter, phones raised, the audience realizing I did not belong. I took one step forward anyway, because my body knew what to do before my fear could interfere. The runway felt longer than it ever had when I watched it from the side. Each step echoed in my ears. I focused on the glide they had drilled into me. Heel, shift, flow. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Let the fabric move. I could not see faces clearly under the lights, only shapes and flashes. And then I heard it. Applause. Not scattered, not polite, real. The sound hit me like a wave. It broke through the fear and replaced it with something sharp and electric. My chest lifted. My chin followed. I walked the turn exactly the way they taught me, pausing just long enough before moving back. Cameras clicked. Someone near the front smiled, nodded a joke at me. By the time I reached the end of the runway, my legs were still burning, but I did not feel the pain anymore. I felt light, powerful in a way I had never experienced. Not because I was pretending to be someone else, but because I was being seen in a way I never had before. As beautiful, as intentional. When I disappeared behind the curtain again, my hands were shaking, but this time it was from adrenaline, not fear. The glam squad grabbed me immediately, praising the walk, fixing small details, sending me back out again when it was time. Each pass felt easier, each step more natural. Somewhere between the lights and the applause, a realization settled quietly in my chest. On that runway, in that body, under that name, I was not invisible. I was admired. And the rush of that feeling scared me almost as much as it thrilled me, because I knew it was something I would never forget. When the show finally ended, the noise drained out of the building slowly. Music faded. Applause became memory. Backstage shifted from urgency to routine cleanup. Hands reached for me again, ready to undo everything they had built. Fingers moved toward my hair, toward the zipper at my back. That was when I heard myself speak, without planning to. "Can we wait a minute?" The words surprised everyone, including me. The stylist paused. The makeup artist looked at my face carefully, as if checking for panic or regret. Instead of arguing, she nodded once and told the others to step out. The room emptied faster than I expected, leaving me alone under the bright mirror lights, still fully dressed, still made up, still held together by corset and tape and intention. I sat down slowly and looked at myself again. Not the quick, shocked glance from before, a real look. My posture was different even sitting. My shoulders relaxed, my face calm. There was a softness in my eyes I did not remember having. The wig rested naturally against my neck. The makeup did not feel heavy anymore. It felt like armor. I thought about the person I had been that morning, rushing with coffee, apologizing without being asked, trying to stay invisible. That version of me felt distant now. Not gone, but quieter. On the runway as Bella, I had not shrunk. I had taken up space. I had been seen and not dismissed. The power in that realization settled deep in my chest. I did not suddenly hate who I was before. That surprised me. This was not about erasing him. It was about admitting something I had never allowed myself to consider, that the version of me who walked confidently under lights felt more real than the one who hid behind clipboards and errands. That the calm I felt right now was not pretend. Eventually, I let them come back in. Piece by piece, the look was undone. Hair lifted away, makeup wiped gently from my skin, the corset loosened. With every layer removed, I felt a quiet ache I could not explain. Not loss exactly, more like separation. When I was finally alone again in my regular clothes, the room felt colder. As I left the building that night, no one stopped me. No one applauded. I walked out into the dark with sore feet and a tired,